how black leaders have sold out the struggle for economic freedom. We have seen over time, time and again, how black leaders have abandoned the struggle for economic freedom for the black masses. Of course, they've done this at the altar of political expedience and patronage because they've secured the bag for themselves, their families, and those who are closely connected to them. Meaning, the white establishment has co-opted these black leaders into the system itself. So they then become a buffer in stopping black people and derailing the struggle for economic emancipation for black people. You see, that's the reality of a black person as we speak right now. In 1994, South Africa secured political liberation. But for the majority of black people, the economic revolution never came. From a Pan-Africanist perspective, this failure was not an accident. It was a deliberate betrayal orchestrated by a new black political elite. These leaders, under pressure from global capital, abandoned the radical economic mandates of the liberation movement, choosing instead to become agents and bodyguards of neo-colonialism. They did not dismantle the machinery of apartheid wealth. They simply took a seat at the table. The first great betrayal was the abandonment of the Freedom Charter. This foundational document of the struggle, despite its weaknesses and shortcomings, promised that the people shall share in the country's wealth, explicitly calling for the nationalization of the mines, banks, and monopoly industry. This was the Pan-Africanist path to economic freedom, seizing the commanding heights of the economy to transfer the wealth from the white tiny minority to the state for the benefit of the masses. And the masses in this case, it is the downtrodden masses of the natives of Africans who are the true owners of this economy in essence. Yet during the transition negotiations of the early 1990s, the leadership quietly shelved these principles. They were convinced by local white monopoly capital and powerful international financial institutions, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, that the only viable path was the neoliberal model. This political capitulation, adopting the economic policy of the very same forces that had backed apartheid, is seen as the single greatest act of economic treason against the black masses. The economic sellout became official policy in 1996 with the implementation of the much discredited growth, employment, and redistribution strategy, popularly known as GEAR. GEAR was a textbook neoliberal program, fiscal authority, privatization of the state assets, and deregulation of the market. This choice ensured that the post-apartheid state will not be a developmental state dedicated to redress, but a compliant participant in global capitalism. By binding the new nation to the demands of the global market, the black leadership perpetuated a form of structural slavery. They prioritized keeping international investors happy over fixing the racial inequalities of unemployment, poverty, and landlessness. In the Pan-Africanist view, this was the moment black leaders willingly chained their people to the very economic system that had oppressed them for centuries. The instrument of this sellout was the black economic empowerment. While the policy was intended to redress historical imbalances, in practice, it did something very different. It did not empower the black working class and the poor. It empowered a small politically connected black elite. The Pan-Africanist critique is devastating. BEE was a sophisticated tool used by the new leadership to co-opt and silence potential critics by allowing a few high-ranking party members, that's where the Ramaphosas come in, and their allies, to become instant millionaires. And their allies to become instant millionaires, the leadership created a new multiracial governing class with a vested interest in protecting the status quo. These new black capitalists became the gatekeepers. Their success was dependent on the system remaining intact, ensuring the majority's economic fate remained unchanged. That's why they're defending the status quo like this. In conclusion, for the Pan-Africanist, the freedom of black South Africa is inseparable from the liberation of the entire continent. The failure of the leadership to achieve economic freedom is a continuation of the colonial project. The solution lies not in further BEDs or neoliberal compliance, but in a return to a radical economic transformation. The immediate nationalization of land, banks, mines, and a firm commitment to collective self-reliance and continental unity. The sellout happened because black leaders chose individual enrichment over mass emancipation. The road to true freedom demands that leaders be held accountable for that choice, for the choice of selling out. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Tebus Kosana. The name of the platform is Izwi Labansundu, the voice for Africans. Tamaku ma Africa.